people who were killed in here during the Middle Ages, and then their corpses thrown into the lake through the postern, that little door. Not at all. This is nothing historical. This is a marketing idea from the 19th century. The first guides in the castle, they were the prison guards. They didn't know anything about history, but they thought visitors would enjoy something frightening about the castle. So they hang the rope and start telling awful stories about that place. All lies. No one was ever killed during the Middle Ages in this part of the castle. Not because they were such kind people, but because executions had to be public to serve as an example. So not inside a castle, that would be stupid for them. And the postern, it's not done for the corpses, but only to bring the goods in and out of the castle by boat. And there are stairs going to the former kitchen of the castle. Far away from Geneva, in Chillon. The first 2 years he stayed in a cozy apartment in the castle. He's a nobleman, but then the Duke thought it's a bit sweet for him, so they sent him to this prison, and he stayed four more years tied to this pillar. There is still the metallic ring where he was tied. In 1536, the Bernese are taking the castle. They found Bonnivard, they freed him. He went back to Geneva, end of the story. Maybe you think his stay in Chillon has affected him a lot. Not really. He died aged 77, he had 4 wives and 16 children. Not bad for a former Catholic priest. But no one would remember Bonnivard's name today if another guy didn't make him famous. This other guy is Lord Byron, George Gordon Byron, and we can talk about him at the 3rd column of the prison. In 1816, 300 years after Bonnivard, Lord Byron, he spent 1 year in Switzerland. He recently had a scandalous divorce in England. He's in Switzerland in a kind of exile, and he came to Chillon to visit the castle. He heard the story of Bonnivard, and that impressed him very much. He's an exile in Switzerland. It's the story of an exile in Chillon. So when he went back to Geneva, where he lived for 1 year, he wrote a poem called The Prisoner of Chillon. And that poem is immediately very, very successful. Immediately translated into 20 languages. It spread all around the British Empire, a rather large part of the world at the time, and visitors start to come to Chillon. They want to see this so famous castle, this so famous prison. So if you're here today, it's because of these 2 guys, François Bonnivard and Lord George Gordon Byron. He didn't take any selfie at the time, of course, 1816, but he wrote his name on the pillar, and we cherish that place because it's because of him we have so many visitors nowadays. You can even tour Switzerland following Byron's signature. He signed his name everywhere he went in Switzerland. There are 3 courtyards in the castle. The first one where we met was the public courtyard for everyone, soldiers, merchants, people from the villages around. And then the second courtyard was the bailiff's courtyard for him and his people with his apartments. And the third one, over there, we'll go there later, was the private courtyard for the Savoy family. When they were not in the castle, it was closed, empty. They are traveling with everything, furniture, clothes, everything. So it's really private and closed when they are not in Chillon. We can have a good view on the keep. This is the oldest part of the castle. You can see a crack on the wall. That was the first tower they built in the 11th century. And then the next centuries, they built a higher part of the tower with the Swiss flag now. Century, the windows are 800 years old. The columns, these are single pieces of oak. It's 800 years old. The fireplace, 600 years old. The ceiling, 500 years old. And the paintings on the wall, this has been done during the restoration of the castle 1 century ago, but on the medieval pattern they found in the castle. So that room is a complete summary of the castle history. You can even see a very strange door close to the ceiling. This was during the Bernese time. The Bernese thought that room was too big for a dining room. They don't like eating, the Bernese, Swiss German in general. So they divided the room into a kitchen on a part and a living room on that part with a second floor, and this was the entrance to the second floor. Dinners in the Middle Ages are very important times for political and business reasons. Usually the lord or the bailiff is seated in front of the fireplace, the best position, and the most important guests are seated next to him. And if you're in disgrace, you're seated at the end of the table. There you get maybe some cold vegetables while the VIPs are getting the tasty barbecue from the fireplace. So there is a horizontal ranking for the guests, but also a vertical ranking for the food, because people thought the closer to the sky the food comes from, the better it is, because it's close to God. So they preferred eating birds than pigs, or fruits than carrots. Carrots growing underground, that's close to hell. That's for the poor people, the peasants, but the noble people prefer higher food. So keeping that in mind, what do you think was the best fish for them? It's not flying fish.
No.
It's dolphin. Because it lives inside the water, but it tries to jump up to reach God, they thought. So it's the best fish. We don't have any dolphins in the Lake of Geneva, but they also have the city of Nice in southern France, the Savoy family, so they could bring some dolphins in brine or smoke.
Gotta climb some steps here. So, went out into the light. Ah.
This was the governor, the bailiff's bedroom since the 13th century. But during the restoration of the castle, the architects thought maybe we should keep one room from the Bernese time, 16th, 17th century, and with the Bernese time. There are no more geometrical patterns on the walls, birds, fruits, that's typical with the grey line from the 16th, 17th century. The furniture is also 400 years old. There's an espresso machine, well, a sink over there. There's a stove. You can even climb some stairs and sit on the stove to hit your backside. A bed, very comfortable bed, not a king-size bed, but a baby-size bed. It's a short bed, because since the Renaissance, in the 14th, 15th century, doctors thought it's better to sleep half-seated. Better for digestion, for breathing, so they put some pillows under their back and they are sleeping seated. This used to be the stateroom for the castle during the Savoy time and also during the Bernese time. And the Bernese bailiff, they painted their coats of arms along the wall to say now it's a Bernese castle. And when the castle get back to the local people, they painted the Pays de Vaud flag to say now it's no more a Savoy, a Bernese castle, it's a Chateau Vaudois. But in history, it's something impossible to have Bernese bailiffs and the Pays de Vaud flag in the same room. It's even polite to invite you guests to have a bath together. After hunting, for example, you should try this back at home to invite some friends for a bath. It's the same for toilets.
The two holes,
two seats, two holes. You come here to talk with your friends. You can talk about politics, about business, hence the words doing his business. That's from the time. In German, they say Sprachhaus, the place where we talk together. The walls, they painted some animals. Local ones, deer, a pig, a goose, 2 bears. Bears are local at the time. We don't have any more bears around the castle. But on the opposite wall, there are exotic animals. A panther, 2 lions over there. The Count of Savoy had a domestic lion in the castle in the 13th century. There's a camel, a dromedary over there, and even fantasy animals. On that wall, there's a griffin fighting the dragon. The fight between